If you truly understood the power of a single thought, you would never again allow just anything to occupy your mind. I want you to pause and ask yourself, what if every limitation you see in your life right now, every ceiling over your finances, every barrier in your relationships, every struggle in your purpose is not a product of your circumstances, but a product of your thinking? Stay with me to the very end, because in the next few minutes I will show you exactly how your thoughts have been silently shaping your destiny and how, starting today, you can take back control. If you dare to challenge your mental habits, you will witness a transformation in your life that will feel nothing short of miraculous. Your destiny is not written in your environment. It is not determined by your family, your past mistakes, or even your education. Your destiny is written by your thoughts. Everything you have achieved or failed to achieve began first as a thought, either a thought of possibility. If you think you are unworthy, you will act in ways that sabotage opportunity. If you believe you are capable, you will step boldly into challenges others avoid. The quality of your thinking is the thermostat of your life. Consider this. Two people can face the same obstacle. One sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. One gives up, the other grows stronger. The only difference is the narrative they choose to believe. When you change your thoughts, you change the stories you tell yourself, and those stories become the script of your future. Your thoughts are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of your mind, and whether you realize it or not, you are always planting something. Every idea you entertain, every belief you accept as true, every internal conversation you allow to play on repeat is a seed that takes root and eventually produces a harvest in your life. This harvest can be one of abundance, peace, and purpose, or it can be a crop of frustration, limitation, and regret. The difference lies not in the environment around you, but in the seeds you have chosen to nurture within you. If you constantly think thoughts of worry and lack, you will begin to see evidence of scarcity everywhere you look. You will interpret neutral events as threats, and you will make decisions out of fear. Over time, these fear-based decisions compound into habits and patterns that close doors, strain relationships, and keep you stuck in survival mode. In the same way, when you think thoughts of possibility, gratitude, and growth, you prime your mind to recognize opportunities, to act with courage, and to persevere when others give up. You start to make choices from a place of faith instead of fear, and those choices build a life that reflects the abundance you have believed was possible all along. It is easy to underestimate the quiet power of a single thought. A thought seems harmless, intangible, invisible. But just as a tiny seed can crack concrete over time, so can a single negative thought, left unchallenged and repeated day after day, break through your confidence and undermine your destiny. If you allow thoughts like, "I'm not enough," or "I'll never succeed," to linger in your mind, they begin to influence how you see yourself. You start to expect failure, to doubt your gifts, and to settle for less than what you are capable of achieving. Eventually, your external life mirrors the limitations you have accepted internally. On the other hand, imagine planting thoughts like, "I have something valuable to offer. I am worthy of respect, and every day I am growing stronger." These seeds will also take root, and over time they will produce a harvest of resilience, clarity, and purpose. You will begin to act in alignment with the identity you have embraced. You will step into rooms with confidence. You will pursue goals with persistence. You will recover more quickly from setbacks because you have trained your mind to expect growth, not defeat. Your thoughts are never neutral. They are always creating something. They shape your emotional state, your energy, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Just as a gardener must be intentional about what seeds he plants, You must be deliberate about the thoughts you entertain. If you want a different harvest in your life, you must start by planting different seeds in your mind. No change in your circumstances can compensate for the damage of toxic thinking. Likewise, no adversity can permanently defeat a person who has disciplined their mind to believe in possibility and purpose. Every great achievement, every meaningful relationship, every breakthrough begins first as a thought. Before it becomes visible to anyone else, it starts as an unseen conviction within you. When you take ownership of this truth, you stop blaming circumstances for your outcomes and you begin to realize that you hold the power to shape your destiny, one thought at a time. The harvest you will reap tomorrow is determined by the seeds you are planting today. Today, be vigilant about what you allow to take root. Nurture thoughts that empower, expand, and inspire you. Over time, you will see that your entire life is simply the visible reflection of the invisible seeds you have been faithfully tending in your mind. Belief shapes behavior in ways most people never pause to notice. The beliefs you hold in your mind create an invisible framework that guides every choice you make, every goal you set, and every risk you either embrace or avoid. If you believe you are capable and worthy, you will naturally step into opportunities and stretch beyond your comfort zone. You will interpret challenges as chances to grow rather than threats to your identity. This is because your beliefs become the lens through which you perceive the world and your place in it. They act as silent instructions, telling you what is possible, what is safe, and what you deserve. Consider how a person who has always believed that they are unqualified or inadequate behaves compared to someone who believes they have unique gifts to share. The first person will likely hold back their ideas, hesitate to apply for positions, and settle for situations that do not reflect their true potential. Their behavior will match their belief that they are unworthy. Even when others see their value, they will find ways to discount compliments or dismiss opportunities because their internal script cannot accept a reality that contradicts their limiting self-image. Meanwhile, the person with a belief in their intrinsic value will volunteer, speak up, and move forward with conviction. Their behavior aligns with the belief that their voice matters and their contribution has significance. This pattern applies not only to personal confidence, but also to how you handle adversity. If you believe failure is final and says something about your worth as a person, you will be crushed by setbacks. You will avoid any situation that carries the possibility of failing again. But if you believe that failure is simply feedback, a stepping stone to greater wisdom and resilience, your behavior will reflect persistence. You will get back up, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward, often surprising yourself with how much you can endure and overcome. Beliefs are not merely intellectual ideas. They are emotional convictions that settle into your subconscious and quietly dictate the trajectory of your life. This is why two people with nearly identical skills and resources can produce completely different results. One has a belief system that supports growth and progress. The other has a belief system that breeds fear and hesitation. In this way, belief functions like the root of a tree, hidden beneath the surface, but determining the health, strength, and fruitfulness of everything visible above. The good news is that beliefs are not fixed. They are learned patterns of thinking, and anything learned can be unlearned and replaced. When you decide to examine the beliefs you have accepted, especially the ones you picked up from your childhood, your environment, or past disappointments, you begin the process of reclaiming your freedom. You can question whether a belief is serving you or limiting you. You can choose to replace "I'm not enough" with "I am evolving and growing every day." You can trade "I don't deserve abundance" for "I am worthy of opportunities and success." Each time you choose an empowering belief, you realign your behavior to reflect that truth. This alignment is what produces lasting change. Many people try to change their actions without changing the beliefs driving them, and they wonder why their efforts don't last. It is because behavior is the fruit, but belief is the root. When you transform what you believe about yourself, about your purpose, and about what is possible for your life, you will naturally begin to act in ways that create a different destiny. You will take inspired action instead of forced effort. You will find the courage to pursue dreams that once felt too far away. And you will build habits that match your new vision of who you are becoming. Belief is the starting point of all transformation, and when you change your beliefs, your behavior, and ultimately your destiny will follow. The mind is a powerful engine that drives every outcome you experience, whether you realize it or not. What you dwell on in the private spaces of your thoughts eventually becomes the life you live in public. Every day, thousands of thoughts cross your mind, and even the ones you consider insignificant leave an imprint on your emotions, your attitudes, and your decisions. This is why guarding your mind is not an optional practice. It is an essential discipline for anyone who wants to live with purpose and intention instead of drifting wherever circumstances push them. This is why, at this point, I take a careful look at a fourth, sixth carentitude. Imagine your mind as the control room of your life. It processes everything you see, hear, and experience. It attaches meaning to those experiences and stores memories that shape how you feel and react in the future. When your mind is unguarded, any negative influence, whether it is a cynical opinion from someone else, a past failure you replay over and over, or the daily noise of fear-driven media, can sneak in and take root. Once these thoughts take root, they begin to color your perception. Even good opportunities can appear threatening or impossible when viewed through the filter of a mind clouded by worry, resentment, or insecurity. Guarding your mind means taking responsibility for what you allow to enter and what you choose to dwell on. Just as you wouldn't let garbage pile up in your home, you cannot afford to let toxic ideas accumulate in your thinking. You have to become intentional about what you feed your mind, because what you feed it will grow. If you consume a steady diet of negativity and comparison, you will find yourself anxious and discontent, always feeling like you are falling short or that the world is out to get you. But if you intentionally feed your mind with uplifting ideas, gratitude, and vision, you create an environment where optimism and creativity can thrive. Guarding your mind also means recognizing that you have the power to challenge and replace destructive thoughts. Too many people accept every thought as if it were an undeniable fact. They don't realize that just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves their agreement. For example, when you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never overcome this," you can pause and ask, is that really true? Or is this just a familiar lie my fear is telling me? When you refuse to give automatic consent to every thought, you reclaim your authority over your mental environment. You become the gatekeeper, deciding which thoughts are worthy of your attention and which ones must be dismissed. Your destiny is shaped not only by what happens to you, but by how you interpret and respond to what happens. Two people can face the same setback, loss of a job, betrayal, financial struggle, and create completely different futures based on what they allow their minds to focus on. One person will dwell on hopelessness and blame, reinforcing feelings of powerlessness. The other will focus on lessons learned, new possibilities, and a belief that their future is not defined by one event. Over time, this difference in mental focus produces a difference in action, resilience, and results. Guarding your mind is a daily commitment. It means choosing carefully what you read, watch, and listen to. It means spending time around people who challenge you to grow instead of those who constantly complain and criticize. It means developing the habit of self-reflection so you can catch negative patterns early and replace them with more empowering perspectives. When you consistently guard your mind, you protect your energy, your focus, and your sense of purpose. Your destiny is too valuable to leave unprotected. The thoughts you allow today will build the foundation of your future. If you want to create a life of meaning, fulfillment, and impact, start by defending the gateway of your mind. Treat it as sacred ground, because everything you will ever do or become begins there. When you guard your mind with diligence, you give yourself the greatest gift, the freedom to think clearly, to choose wisely, and to shape your destiny on purpose instead of by accident. Every achievement, every failure, every moment of progress or regret in life begins first as a thought. The mind is where every possibility is conceived before it ever becomes reality. That is why the ability to renew and discipline your thinking is the most powerful tool you will ever possess. Many people focus on external factors, money, connections, timing, but overlook the simple truth that it is their inner dialogue that determines what they do with those resources. If you want to transform your life, you must first transform the way you think about yourself, your purpose, and your circumstances. Renewing your thinking means recognizing that your old patterns of thought are not always reliable guides. They were often formed in times of struggle, fear, or limitation. Perhaps you were taught to play small, to expect disappointment, or to be suspicious of anything good that came your way. You may have developed habits of thinking that automatically default to self-doubt or negativity without realizing it. These patterns became the background music of your life, influencing your mood and shaping your choices. When you renew your thinking, you interrupt those old melodies and compose something new. You deliberately question the thoughts that hold you back and replace them with ideas that call you forward. Disciplining your thinking goes hand in hand with renewal. It is not enough to have occasional moments of inspiration or to think positive thoughts once in a while. Discipline is the daily practice of noticing where your mind drifts and guiding it back to where you want it to stay. It is catching yourself when you begin to spiral into resentment or fear and consciously choosing a more constructive focus. This discipline is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about training your mind to respond to problems with clarity and faith instead of panic. When you renew and discipline your thinking, you stop living as a passive reactor to life's events. You become a creator, someone who responds intentionally rather than automatically. This shift is what allows you to rise above your circumstances instead of being defined by them. Even in the middle of difficulty, you can hold a vision for something better. You can choose to see obstacles as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. You can decide that your past does not have the authority to dictate your future. Consider how much time people spend trying to change their habits or their environments while leaving their thoughts unexamined. They sign up for programs, buy new tools, and reorganize their schedules, hoping something outside of them will create lasting transformation. But the truth is, nothing outside can produce sustainable change if the mind inside remains the same. Your thoughts are the root of every behavior. When you renew your thinking, you change the soil where your actions grow. As you nurture more empowering beliefs, your choices naturally align with them. You no longer have to force yourself to act differently because your new mindset becomes the driving force behind your decisions. Renewal and discipline of thought require humility. You must be willing to admit that some of what you have believed was never true. You must have the courage to release ideas that feel familiar but are no longer helpful. And you must commit to the practice every single day. It is like tending a garden. Pulling out the weeds, planting new seeds, watering them, and protecting them until they take root. Over time, the landscape of your mind changes, and with it, the landscape of your life. This is how people who once felt stuck begin to move forward. They do not wait for circumstances to change first. They start by changing their thoughts. From that renewed and disciplined mindset comes a new sense of possibility, energy, and purpose. The more you invest in transforming your thinking, the more you will see evidence of that transformation in your results, your relationships, and your sense of fulfillment. Your mind is the origin of your destiny. Renew it, discipline it, and you will unlock the life you were meant to create. Your thoughts are not silent passengers in your life. They are the architects shaping everything you experience. If you want to create a better future, you must first learn to master the conversations you have with yourself every single day. Self-talk is the constant stream of ideas, judgments, and stories your mind tells you about who you are, what you can do, and what the world expects of you. Most people never stop to examine this inner dialogue, even though it silently governs their confidence, decisions, and results. By transforming your self-talk, you change the lens through which you interpret every situation, and that shift can unlock a completely different destiny. Negative self-talk is often so habitual that you don't even realize it's happening. It sounds like, "I'm not good enough," "This always happens to me," or "I don't have what it takes." Over time, these statements create an identity of limitation and lack. Your mind begins to look for evidence to support these beliefs, filtering out any signs that contradict them. If you tell yourself you're not capable, your brain will highlight every mistake and dismiss every success. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, reinforcing the very thoughts that hold you back. It's like living in a house with dirty windows. No matter how bright it is outside, everything looks dim from where you stand. To change this, you must become intentional about creating empowering self-talk that aligns with the life you want to build. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to speak to yourself with honesty, hope, and respect. Instead of saying, "I can't," you begin to say, "I'm learning," or "I will figure this out." Instead of "nothing ever works for me," you replace it with, "Every challenge teaches me something valuable." These simple shifts are not trivial. They rewire the way your brain processes experience, training you to see opportunities instead of only obstacles. Transforming self-talk requires awareness. You have to learn to catch yourself in the act of discouraging yourself. This might feel uncomfortable at first because you've likely been speaking to yourself this way for years. But the moment you become aware is the moment you regain power. Awareness gives you the chance to question whether your thoughts are true, helpful, or aligned with your goals. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's true. Often, the most damaging beliefs are simply old stories you've repeated so many times that you stopped challenging them. The discipline of replacing negative self-talk with positive, constructive statements is a daily practice. It is not something you do once and never revisit. Each day you have countless moments when your self-talk can either sabotage your progress or support your growth. When you wake up in the morning, when you face setbacks, when you try something new, or when you reflect on your efforts, these are the moments that matter most. In these moments, you decide whether you will be your own critic or your own ally. One of the most powerful benefits of changing your self-talk is that it expands your sense of possibility. When you speak to yourself with encouragement and belief, you open your mind to try new things and to persist even when results take time. You begin to see yourself as capable and worthy of success. This shift in identity fuels resilience. You stop quitting at the first sign of difficulty because you no longer assume that struggle means failure. Instead, you see struggle as proof that you are growing. Remember, the destiny you create is directly linked to the words you whisper to your own heart. If you want to rise above the limitations of your past, you must first speak life into your present. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, someone you believe has potential and purpose. Over time, this compassionate, determined self-talk becomes your new normal. And when that happens, you will discover that changing your thoughts was the most powerful step you ever took toward changing your destiny. The mind is like a fertile field. Whatever seeds you plant there, whether good or bad, will eventually grow into the reality you experience. This is why guarding and directing your thoughts is essential. You cannot afford to be careless about what you allow to take root in your mental landscape. Every belief, every fear, every hope begins as a tiny seed of thought. Over time, as you focus on it, nurture it, and replay it in your mind, it develops deeper roots and stronger branches. Eventually, it produces fruit. Your actions, habits, and ultimately the results you see in your life. Many people fail to realize that their daily thoughts are quietly building the life they complain about or the life they dream of. They think that outcomes are purely the result of luck or circumstances, never pausing to examine the patterns they have been rehearsing internally for years. But if you look closely, you will see that repeated thoughts create the beliefs that shape your expectations, and your expectations set the limits on what you will attempt or receive. If you expect disappointment, you will subconsciously prepare for it, and you will often find exactly what you feared. If you expect opportunity, your mind becomes alert and ready to act on it, and you will notice doors that others overlook. Guarding your thoughts is a discipline that demands vigilance. You must be aware of the influences you allow into your mind, media, conversations, environments, and recognize when they are planting seeds of fear, doubt, or cynicism. You have the right and the responsibility to reject ideas that weaken your resolve or shrink your vision. It is not about pretending that problems do not exist. It is about refusing to let every negative possibility dominate your thinking. You are the gatekeeper of your mental garden. No one else can do this work for you. Directing your thoughts means that you actively choose where to focus your mental energy. You do not allow your attention to drift aimlessly to every worry or distraction. Instead, you develop the habit of bringing your thoughts back to what strengthens you. This might mean reflecting on your goals, rehearsing gratitude, or reminding yourself of past victories. It might mean meditating on principles that anchor you when life feels uncertain. Just as an athlete trains their body to perform under pressure, you train your mind to stay steady and clear no matter what is happening around you. This discipline is especially important in times of stress or challenge. When life becomes difficult, your unguarded mind will naturally default to fear and frustration. If you are not intentional, those thoughts can quickly multiply, choking out your motivation and peace. But when you have practiced directing your thoughts, you can pause, breathe, and choose a more empowering perspective. You can remind yourself that setbacks are temporary, that growth often requires discomfort, and that you have overcome challenges before. In doing so, you reclaim your ability to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Another reason to guard and direct your thoughts is that they are contagious. The mindset you carry affects everyone around you, your family, your coworkers, your friends. If you consistently entertain bitterness or anxiety, you will spread it to others, often without saying a word. But when you discipline your mind to focus on possibility, gratitude, and purpose, you become a source of encouragement and strength. Your thoughts set the tone for your words, your decisions, and the atmosphere you create in every environment you enter. Ultimately, guarding and directing your thoughts is about stewardship. You have been given a mind with incredible creative power. Every idea you dwell on has the potential to influence not only your own destiny, but also the lives of those you touch. When you take ownership of this responsibility, you begin to live with greater intention and purpose. You recognize that nothing is more important than keeping your mental soil clean, nourished, and prepared for growth. The seeds you plant today become the harvest you will reap tomorrow. Choose them wisely, tend them daily, and watch as your life transforms from the inside out. When you decide to elevate your thinking, you are not merely hoping for small improvements in your life. You are opening the door to transformations that ripple through every area of your existence. Your relationships, health, career, finances, and spiritual well-being are all profoundly shaped by the quality of your thoughts. This is why expanding your mindset is the foundation for building a future that reflects your true potential instead of your past limitations. Most people remain stuck in cycles of mediocrity and frustration because they never question the mental patterns that created those cycles in the first place. They continue to replay the same assumptions, the same fears, and the same excuses, unaware that their mind has quietly become a prison. When you change your thinking, you change your perception of what is possible. A closed mind sees obstacles as final verdicts. An open mind sees them as temporary challenges to be overcome. A limited mindset interprets rejection as evidence of worthlessness. An elevated mindset sees it as redirection to something better. This shift in perspective does not happen by accident. It begins with a conscious decision to refuse the old narratives that have held you captive. You start asking yourself better questions. What if this setback is preparing me for something greater? What if my limitations are not facts but habits I can outgrow? The moment you begin to think this way, your life starts to bend in new directions. Your mindset determines your level of resilience. When your thinking is small and reactive, any difficulty feels overwhelming. You interpret normal struggles as proof that you should quit or settle. But when you expand your thinking, you develop the emotional and mental capacity to endure discomfort, to persist longer than your doubts, and to see problems as teachers rather than enemies. You stop assuming that failure means you lack ability and start recognizing that failure is simply part of the learning curve. This alone can free you from years of self-sabotage and hesitation. Elevating your thoughts also changes the standards you set for yourself and the people you allow into your life. When your mindset is limited, you tolerate relationships and environments that drain your energy because you don't believe you deserve better. You stay in jobs that suffocate your creativity because you don't trust your ability to succeed elsewhere. But when you begin to see yourself through a lens of purpose and possibility, you naturally raise your standard. You realize that you have a right and a responsibility to protect your energy, to choose growth over comfort, and to surround yourself with people who challenge you to be your best. Your elevated thinking acts like a filter. Anything that doesn't align with your new vision falls away. One of the most powerful aspects of transforming your mindset is that it empowers you to create your future instead of merely reacting to circumstances. You stop waiting for external validation or permission to pursue your goals. You recognize that your life is shaped more by your decisions than by your conditions. This internal shift gives you the courage to take risks, to reinvent yourself, and to pursue ambitions that once felt out of reach. You begin to trust that you can learn what you need to know, develop the skills you lack, and adapt to any challenge you face. Every great achievement begins in the mind, long before it appears in reality. The dreams you have for your health, your relationships, your career, and your contribution to the world are all born from the thoughts you choose to cultivate. When you expand your mindset, you create the mental space for those dreams to take root. You start to see evidence of opportunity and potential everywhere because your mind has been trained to look for them. This is not wishful thinking. It is the disciplined practice of focusing your attention on what strengthens you instead of what diminishes you. Remember, your mindset is the thermostat that sets the climate of your life. If you keep it set to the temperature of scarcity, fear, and self-doubt, no matter what you achieve, you will always return to that level. But when you raise your internal standards, when you choose to think in terms of growth, possibility, and purpose, you elevate every dimension of your life. The decision to expand your mindset is the first step in designing a destiny that honors the greatness within you. Your environment plays a powerful role in shaping your thoughts, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. It is often said that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is more than just a catchy phrase. The people, places, and influences around you act like a mirror, reflecting back to you the values, beliefs, and attitudes that will either lift you up or hold you down. If your environment is filled with negativity, doubt, and limitation, your mind will naturally absorb those messages, even if you consciously desire something different. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with positivity, encouragement, and growth, your thoughts are nurtured in a way that opens new possibilities and strengthens your resolve to pursue them. The truth is, your environment can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy in the journey to change your destiny. When you are surrounded by people who believe in your potential, challenge you to improve, and celebrate your successes, you begin to see yourself through their eyes. Their belief becomes a kind of fuel that powers your own self-confidence. You start to expect more from yourself because you've been shown that more is possible. This is why many successful people emphasize the importance of finding mentors, coaches, or peers who inspire and push them forward. These relationships create an environment where positive, empowering thoughts flourish naturally. Conversely, if your environment is toxic, filled with criticism, jealousy, or complacency, it is incredibly difficult to maintain a mindset of growth and possibility. Negative environments breed self-doubt, fear, and resignation. Even if you try to think positively, the constant barrage of limiting messages can erode your mental strength over time. This is why it is crucial to be intentional about the spaces you occupy and the company you keep. Sometimes this means making hard choices, distancing yourself from people who drain your energy, or avoiding places that trigger destructive thoughts. It's not about cutting ties out of spite, but protecting your mind and spirit so they can thrive. Your environment is not just about people, it also includes the physical spaces you inhabit and the media you consume. Cluttered, chaotic spaces can contribute to mental overwhelm and distraction, making it harder to focus on your goals. On the other hand, tidy, organized spaces promote clarity and calm. The books you read, the shows you watch, and the social media accounts you follow also shape your mental landscape. Consuming content that motivates, educates, and uplifts is a form of mental nourishment. It fills your mind with ideas and images that expand your thinking and inspire action. In contrast, constantly exposing yourself to negativity or meaningless distractions can stunt your growth and cloud your vision. One of the most powerful ways to harness your environment for positive change is to create rituals and routines that reinforce the mindset you want to cultivate. This might include setting aside time each day for reflection, meditation, or reading. It could mean joining groups or communities aligned with your values and goals. By structuring your environment intentionally, you create a support system that makes it easier to stay consistent in your thoughts and actions. You don't have to rely solely on willpower, because your surroundings will be working with you, not against you. Changing your environment may feel daunting, especially if you've been in the same patterns for years. But even small adjustments can create ripple effects that transform your thinking over time. It might mean waking up earlier to start your day in peace, finding a new workout buddy, or unsubscribing from negativity on social media. Every step you take to align your environment with your vision for your life sends a message to your mind. I am serious about growth. I am ready for change. This message is incredibly powerful because your subconscious mind thrives on consistency and repetition. Ultimately, your environment is a mirror reflecting the inner landscape of your thoughts and beliefs. By choosing to surround yourself with positivity, growth, and support, you are actively shaping the mental soil from which your destiny will grow. When you nurture your mind with the right influences, you create fertile ground for the seeds of greatness to take root and flourish. Change your environment, and you change the input your mind receives. Change your input, and you change your thoughts. Change your thoughts, and you change your destiny. This cycle is the blueprint for lasting transformation. You were never created to live at the mercy of circumstances. You were created with the power to transform your life by transforming your thoughts. Your mind is the birthplace of your destiny. Decide today that you will no longer be a prisoner of old patterns. Decide that you will no longer rehearse stories of defeat. Decide that your thoughts will align with your highest purpose. Because when you change your thoughts, you will change your destiny. And there is no limit to what you can become.